Brotherhood of the Wolf is a 2002 released French period horror drama directed by Christophe Gans.
Yes, it's about a town called
Givaudan.
Something like that.
We're not French. We're not going to pronounce these correctly, so excuse us.
Yeah, apologies in advance for all the incorrect pronunciations. And a beast that is, terrorising it, basically.
It is, yeah.
And leaving lots of mutilated corpses in its wake. Yeah, they've got an army unit trying to dispatch it, but all they've managed to kill is just regular wolves, and the killings continue. So, what's he? Is he a naturalist or something like that? Isn't he?
Something like that,
is dispatched from Paris by
Fronzac.
Gregoire de Fronzac. Is dispatched by Louis XV. Just to say, this is set in the 18th century, obviously, and he's dispatched to the town to try and find out what's going on, try and find this beast and capture it and kill it and end these killings. So along with him, he's got his everyone assumes that he's like his servant, isn't he? But he's basically his friend. He's a Native American played by Mark Dacascos, and as soon as the film starts, basically the two rescue a guy and his daughter from these. From what looks like, they're being beaten up and attacked by this group of guys, and Mark Dacascos shows us his martial arts skills in spectacular fashion.
Yes,
kicks the crap out of them, and then he arrives at the town and begins to investigate, and they've got a big hunt and kill loads of wolves. But the killings continue, and he's convinced that it's not. At first, he thinks, it is a wolf, and they're just idiots. But he rapidly realises once he sees a body and he examines the bite marks, you can see that the bite is far bigger than anything a normal wolf could make. And where is this beast coming from? No one seems to be able to see it. When they describe it, they say it's got metal teeth and things like that. And well, the plot thickens, as they say. There's lots of nobility in the town, and they want to try and help him capture this thing, and there's lots of sort of conflict between his scientific viewpoint and the religious viewpoint of some of them, who think it's God punishing them for something and things like that. So he comes from it a very scientific standpoint and doesn't believe that there's any sort of, it's not a demon as some of them believe.
Yeah, so like you said, we are in the 18th century here. Mm-hmm. So there is kind of so yes, science and religion do play a big part in this film, as they, the science was obviously relatively not new, because science had been around for a long thousands and thousands of years, but obviously science was changing all the time, and religion, as we know, especially in the 18th century, was much. I suppose a lot of people believed.
Yeah.
Many more people believed back then than they do today. And there was a big conflict between science and religion, which you don't get so much nowadays. Maybe in America.
Well, yeah.
But over here in Europe, we're a little bit more progressed.
Well, I think I think there was a sort of age of enlightenment, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
In those times.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's a lot of politics going on, and then you get a lot of intrigue. Obviously, priests in that time are more important. So in the 18th century and before, priests had more of an important role than they do nowadays. It was much more connected to the state and things like that. So there's a lot of people pulling from either side, and you're not quite sure who to trust. And that brings with it some really interesting characters. So you have people like the actor Vincent Cassell is in there. Who's really great, and he's always such a great. One of my favourite. In that period, he was like my favourite actor. I watched a lot of his films, a lot, and he obviously comes from the one I know him from is Latin, the French film, the black and white one, which is an incredible film, and but he's great in this. He's creepy as hell. He plays creepy really really well. But he does it really well. And there are other actors in there as well. Look, I don't know many of them, so I'm not going to mention many of them.
And if we do, we have to pronounce them. So
we will exactly.
But Vincent Cassell's character has a sister who Fronsac takes a shine to.
Yeah, I think she Émilie Dequenne.
Yeah.
She's quite. I kind of recognise her from somewhere, but she might almost look like another actor. But I don't know.
Well, she was quite young when she made this. I think
She was quite young. Yeah.
So she's obviously done lots since.
Is that a chap called? Is it? Because I thought it was Jeremy Renner, but it wasn't. It's Jeremy Renier. Renier or something. So not Jeremy Renner. But and he plays the bloke. He's the narrator.
He is, yeah.
He plays the narrator. Yeah. So there is this guy narrating the whole film.
Well, and the older version of him.
The older version
of the narrator,
of him.
yeah,
Exactly,
but it's the same character.
Yeah.
We're making it sound really confusing. It's really not.
We are, yeah. Anyway, so yes, it does have an interesting cast.
And Monica Bellucci, of course.
And Monica Bellucci, of course. So at this time, this period, was married to Vincent Cassell. Yeah. And she plays it as seductively as ever.
Yeah, pretty much.
She's a great actress. I've always enjoyed her performances as well. I mean, so I saw this film when it came out originally.
Yeah.
And it's very, I think, so 2000, 2002, I was about 20 odd. It's a great film for a 20-year-old. It's full of, action and violence.
Buxom ladies.
And that. And horror. It's got gothic. I mean, it's gothic horror at the end of the day. It's a good gothic horror film. And I think I saw it quite a few times when I was younger. I really kind of went for it. I really enjoyed it. I haven't now seen it for quite many years now. At least 10, 12 years. And it's very long. It's almost too long. I felt this time. It started to feel a bit bulky around the edges at times.
Maybe.
But I still really enjoyed it. I think it looks beautiful.
It's got there's some great cinematography, and the production design is amazing. The
costumes are exquisite.
Yeah.
I mean, as they kind of should be, I suppose, from that period. But they've really done a good job, and I think it looks wonderful, and it's really nice to look at. It suffers a little bit from that. So there was that 2000 period where a lot of you had the kind of post-Matrix.
Yeah.
So it does have. So you've got your martial arts guys in there, which is a little bit funny because I don't know how old martial arts is. I think they're pretty old.
I'm sure they were doing it thousands of years ago.
Yeah,
in China
but how speedy they were doing it, I don't know. But anyway, this film obviously is borrowed from the Matrix universe, and so you get lots of slow mo.
Yeah.
But actually, I mean, it looks quite nice when they're in the mud and the rain splattering.
I mean, that first fight right at the start, it's very well choreographed, and like you say, it's in the rain, it looks great.
Yeah, and the leather's all like... Yeah. The sound of leather always is quite... I'm not going to...
Where are you going with that?
Nowhere. Okay. It's okay. But that kind of... I'm not going to even attempt to make the sound of my mouth. I'll just skip over that. No, there is the sound in film. Is important, and sometimes when you
the creaking of leather as you move. The
creaking of leather when you move.
The slow mo does sort of age it a little bit.
And the cross-fading edits.
Yeah, and sort of there's sort of there's some crazy zooms and quick cutting and things like that during the fights, which the rest of the film doesn't have particularly, but during the fights, it's all very fast paced and everything, as it would be. But it kind of feels a bit Matrixy. I think the only thing that maybe lets it down slightly is the CGI hasn't aged that well. I mean, even at the time, I don't think it wasn't like state of the art CGI, because it's not a massively budgeted film, and obviously a lot of the budget went on the on the costumes and the sets and things like that. So the CGI of the actual beast, it's not too bad, but it's showing its age. So, but there's not loads and loads of that. Most of the stuff going on is all costumes and sets and things, so it's not too bad. Yeah, and you don't really... I mean, when you see this kind of wolf-like beast, it's all done quite quickly, and it's never too... And there's a couple of moments where you kind of see it jump around, and that does look a bit old. It kind of reminded me of the CGI in The Relic. Remember that film, Peter Hyams' film? Yes, vaguely. The monster in that is... When you see it, when you see the whole thing, and it's not a close-up, the CGI of that looks a bit short. Yeah, and also similarly, like Alien 3, some of the CGI aliens. So it's just CGI of that sort of late 90s, early noughties time, which it was still quite... it maybe films were using it a little bit too much. Whereas now, they can use it for so many things, and you can't even see the seams anymore. But at that time, it was still quite young, and I think maybe filmmakers were pushing it a bit too much, too early. They were probably having to. I don't know how they. I mean,
can kind of guess how they do CGI, but the lighting in those days never quite fit what was actually going on in the scene.
Sometimes,
whereas I think now they can either they use special I don't know how they do it, but you know the way they can
wizardry.
The way they can light films now probably relates quite. They know exactly what's going to go into the film with the CGI, and they can do it convincingly. But in those days, the lighting always felt a little bit off with the CGI, similar to the old. The stop motion stuff. Yeah. Although it looked really cool and was quite creepy, it was always the light was never perfect.
Quite the same, was it?
And it always you could tell it wasn't the same thing. But
it's of its time, and you just have to forgive it for that because that's obviously that was the best they could do, and it does the job. And it's not like you think, oh, this is terrible, I can't watch this anymore. It's not that bad.
And also, so this film, and almost similar to last week we did Lair of the White Worm. This film is also based on a legend. Yeah. So this is actually based on the beast of Gévaudan. 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 Yeah, excuse me. But it was based on. There was a series of killings, I think, done by an animal, and obviously that was not this one, but it was based on that. So more folklore. So this this is good because we are in gothic horror folklore territory. So can you see this film? What's the availability of it?
I mean, there's various different versions. I mean, when it was released, there was a.
Do you have it?
Yes. There's a version. So when it was released, there was obviously a theatrical version which was shown in around the world, and which I think runs at about 142 something minutes. And then in the UK and Australia, I think there was a slightly different cut that ran 139 minutes, which I think was released. That wasn't released in the cinema, but that was released on like video and DVD at that time. And then there was also a director's cut, which is what this one is, which runs 150 minutes. So I think the UK version kind of took elements from the director's cut and put them in, but took other bits out and things like that. I don't know, it's very confusing, but the director's cut has everything in it and is the longest version. I mean, obviously that's probably not preferable to use. You thought it was too long, but running it a full 2.5 hours.
Because I just watched the UK version. I think I've only ever seen the UK version. And this time round, however, I watched the dub version, which wasn't so great. Although Vincent Cassell, I think, always dubs himself because he can speak English really well. So he's really good in the dub version. Everyone else not so good.
No,
but yeah. Anyway.
This is the Canadian DVD that came out back in 2002. It's got 3 discs and is like I said, it's the director's cut. It's got loads of features on it. So I mean, I think the director's cut is available on Blu-ray as well. You'd need to Google it because there's lots of different versions, and I think some countries have various versions and various releases. So if you're after a particular cut, then just Google it because I can't remember what was released where. I haven't seen anything that's good enough to replace this. I mean, I think it would look nice in HD because it has such great sets and costumes and stuff.
Yeah, and there's moments where it's in the countryside, so there are moments when you're in the woods, and there's some nice kind of. It's very atmospheric, and obviously trees and smoke and wetness, stuff like that.
Wet leather.
No. Yeah, no. Well, yeah, but you're right. HD. Yeah, creaky leather in HD would be amazing.
Yes. So, but yeah, I haven't. I mean, I think the German version Blu-ray, I think, is supposed to be pretty good, but it's not English friendly. I don't think if you want to. There's no subtitles, so if you want it in English, you'd have to watch the dub version.
Right,
which,
sure.
Like I said, is not ideal. I don't think it's streaming anywhere. You can find it, could you?
I couldn't. No. So I tried to have a look, but yeah.
And I haven't seen it. I don't know if I've ever seen it on TV. It must have been on TV, but it's not something that gets shown very often.
Yeah, I don't remember when I saw. I think I must have just because it's got the cover's quite. It's one of those covers that you much like music. A lot of films I used to buy, I'd just buy from the cover. You'd be like, oh, well, that looks quite interesting. And obviously this has quite. It's quite these guys in their covered faces, and they're not going to say it. Not going to say that word, but no, it looks quite. And it also looks like there was another film came out a couple of years after. It's called Roma Santa,
right?
Which was I think it was either French or maybe Polish. I can't remember, but it was a European film, and it was a similar. It was by the guy that made Spanish. I think it's because the guy that made Wreck, the film Wreck.
Oh yeah.
It was like I think his first film. It's got Julian Sands in. He's not a great actor, but he does try. It's
Okay.
it's but the cover is basically like this.
Right.
It's like a guy with a covered. I mean, it's exactly the same as that,
Yeah.
basically. And clearly going on this one for its marketing. But they only ever look like this once in the film, don't they?
Yeah, basically right at the start, and then they don't put their little masks on ever again. So.
No.
Bit of false advertising, but never mind. It makes it look cool, I
But
suppose.
I think that's when I kind of first came across this film.
So you didn't see it in the cinema?
I don't think I saw it. I don't remember seeing it in the cinema.
I'm pretty sure I did. But
I may have done, but I don't have any recollection of seeing it in the cinema. I usually can remember. I've seen a lot in the cinema, but I can usually remember what I've seen in the cinema. So I think I just picked it up on DVD. I think looks like an interesting film. I'll give that a watch, and thoroughly enjoyed it when I did. So that was Brotherhood of the Wolf, and as always, if you like the video, let us know in the comments below.
Yep, click up there to subscribe, and there's some other videos over there for you to check out. Come and join us on Facebook and Twitter, and make sure you come back next week for another video.